Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth cruiser Liberty and watched the stars through the main window. The message from Earth Command still glowed on his screen. After 10 years of war, the aliens wanted peace. 3 different alien groups had agreed to meet with humans at a neutral space station called Meridian 7. Morrison had fought these aliens for most of his adult life. He knew their ships, their weapons, and their tricks. This sudden desire for peace felt wrong. Admiral Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge. She was the smartest military leader Morrison had ever met. Her gray hair was pulled back tight and her eyes were sharp. She carried a data pad filled with intelligence reports. Morrison saluted her and she nodded back. Carter had been studying alien behavior since the war began. If anyone could smell a trap, it was her. "Captain, we need to talk," Carter said. She gestured toward the briefing room. Morrison followed her inside. The room was small and secure. No alien technology could listen in here. Carter activated the privacy screens and sat down across from Morrison. "Tell me what you think about this peace offer," Carter said. Morrison chose his words carefully. "The timing is strange, Admiral. 3 weeks ago, the hegemony was attacking our supply lines. The Syndicate was raiding our colonies. The Collective was building new weapons. Now they all want to shake hands and be friends." Carter smiled. It was not a happy smile. "My thoughts exactly. Commander Ryan Phillips has been watching alien fleet movements. The patterns don't match what we would expect from groups preparing for peace." Phillips was Carter's intelligence chief. He was young but brilliant. His team could track alien ships across half the galaxy. If Phillips was worried, Morrison knew there was good reason. "What kind of patterns?" Morrison asked. Carter activated a holographic display. It showed the local star systems with colored dots representing different ships. "Look at the hegemony forces here near the Tau Ceti system. They're not withdrawing. They're repositioning for better attack angles on our colonies." Morrison studied the display. He had commanded fleet actions against hegemony ships many times. Carter was right. These were not the movements of a force preparing for peace. These were the movements of predators circling their prey. "The Syndicate is doing something similar near Proxima," Carter continued. "And the Collective has moved 3 battle groups into positions that would let them cut off our supply routes." "Maybe they're just being careful," Morrison said. "Trust but verify, as the old saying goes." "Maybe," Carter said. "But there's more. Dr. Sam Norton has been analyzing intercepted alien communications. Most of the diplomatic channels are saying nice things about peace and cooperation, but the military frequencies are telling a different story. Dr. Norton was the best xenobiologist in the fleet. He understood alien languages and cultures better than most aliens understood themselves. Norton had helped break alien codes before. His work had saved thousands of human lives." "What did Norton find?" Morrison asked. "Encrypted military traffic between all 3 alien groups. They're coordinating something. Historical enemies don't usually work together unless they have a very good reason." Morrison felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The 3 alien factions had been fighting each other for centuries before humans ever left Earth. The hegemony believed in conquest through strength. The Syndicate wanted to control through economic manipulation. The Collective claimed they sought unity through peaceful absorption. All 3 groups hated each other almost as much as they hated humans. If they're working together, this isn't about peace, Morrison said. "No, it's not," Carter agreed. "But we're going to that peace conference anyway." Morrison looked surprised. "Admiral? Because we need to know what they're really planning, and because Earth Command thinks this might be our chance to end the war on our terms." Carter switched off the holographic display and leaned forward. "Captain, I'm giving you a special assignment. You'll take the Liberty to Meridian 7, you'll participate in the peace talks, but your real job will be to find out what the aliens are actually planning." "Understood, Admiral. What kind of support will I have?" "Lieutenant Amy Foster will handle technical analysis. She's the best sensor operator in the fleet. If there's anything unusual about that space station, she'll find it. Commander Phillips will provide intelligence support from here, and Dr. Norton is already aboard your ship." Morrison nodded. Foster was young but incredibly skilled with technology. She could make ship sensors do things that the manufacturers never intended. Phillips had resources throughout human space and beyond. Norton's expertise with alien biology and psychology would be crucial. "There's one more thing," Carter said. "Earth Command has authorized Protocol 7 if things go bad." Morrison's eyes widened. Protocol 7 was a classified emergency plan. Most fleet officers didn't even know it existed. Morrison only knew about it because of his security clearance. Protocol 7 meant that Earth expected the worst and was prepared to respond accordingly. "I hope we don't need it," Morrison said. "So do I," Carter replied. "But if this peace conference is a trap, we're not going to walk into it unprepared." Carter stood up and Morrison followed. They walked back to the bridge together. Morrison looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were moving into position. The peace conference was scheduled to begin in 72 hours. Morrison had been to many diplomatic meetings during the war. Usually they were just ways for both sides to buy time and gather intelligence. But this felt different. This felt like an ending. Morrison just hoped it would be the aliens' ending and not humanity's. Dr. Norton was waiting on the bridge when they arrived. He was a thin man with nervous energy and intelligent eyes. Norton had spent years studying alien cultures. He understood how they thought and why they made the decisions they did. "Admiral Captain," Norton said, "I've finished analyzing the latest communication intercepts. The aliens are definitely planning something. The language patterns suggest a coordinated operation of some kind." "What kind of operation?" Carter asked. "I'm not sure yet," Norton admitted. "But the timing references all point to the peace conference. Whatever they're planning, it's going to happen at Meridian 7. Morrison felt that cold feeling in his stomach again. The peace conference was supposed to be humanity's chance to end the war. Instead, it was starting to look like humanity's chance to lose everything. Carter looked at both men. "Gentlemen, we have 72 hours to figure out what the aliens are really planning. The future of humanity might depend on what we discover." Morrison nodded and turned to the navigation officer. "Set course for Meridian 7, maximum speed." The Liberty turned toward the distant space station. Behind them, Earth continued to spin in space, unaware that the peace talks might be the beginning of the final battle for human survival. Morrison barely slept that night. He spent most of the dark hours reviewing tactical reports and checking equipment. The final peace ceremony was scheduled to begin in 6 hours. Everything his team had discovered pointed to the same conclusion. Humanity was walking into the biggest trap in galactic history. Lieutenant Amy Foster had worked through the night at her sensor station. Her eyes were red from strain, but her readings were clear. The quantum disruption weapons built into Meridian 7 were charging up. The energy levels were increasing slowly, probably to avoid detection by standard sensors. "Captain," Foster reported when Morrison arrived on the bridge. "The station's weapons will reach full charge in approximately 4 hours. That matches the timing of the peace ceremony." Dr. Norton joined them with his latest analysis of alien communications. His usually nervous demeanor had been replaced by grim determination. Norton had spent years studying alien psychology, and he understood exactly what humanity was facing. "The aliens are definitely planning to activate the weapons during the signing ceremony," Norton confirmed. "But there's something else. They're planning to broadcast the ceremony throughout the galaxy. Every major species will watch humanity's leaders being destroyed." Morrison understood the psychological warfare aspect. The aliens did not just want to kill Earth's leadership. They wanted to terrify every other species into submission by showing what happened to those who opposed them. Ambassador Cross arrived on the bridge wearing her formal diplomatic uniform. She looked calm and composed, but Morrison could see the tension in her shoulders. Cross had been a diplomat for 20 years, but she had never faced anything like this. "Captain, have you found a way to warn Earth?" Cross asked. "Negative," Morrison replied. "The aliens are still jamming our long-range communications, but I've been thinking about Protocol 7. Chief Analyst Ben Clark looked up from his intelligence station. "Captain, Protocol 7 requires coordination with Earth Command. We're on our own out here." Morrison nodded. Protocol 7 was designed for a coordinated response to an alien decapitation strike, but the protocol assumed that some part of Earth's command structure would survive to implement it. If the aliens succeeded in destroying humanity's leadership, at Meridian 7, there might be no one left to activate the protocol. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Hughes had spent the night preparing her Marines for every possible scenario. Her security team was small but elite. Each Marine was equipped with the best armor and weapons that human technology could provide. "Captain," Hughes reported, "my team is ready, but if this station really is one giant weapon, I'm not sure what we can do about it." Morrison had been thinking about that problem all night. The quantum disruption weapons built into Meridian 7 were too powerful for a small team to destroy, but maybe they could be turned against their creators. "Foster, can you access the station's control systems?" Morrison asked. "I've been trying," Foster replied. "The aliens have very sophisticated security protocols, but I might be able to create some interference in their systems during the ceremony." Dr. Norton suddenly looked up from his communications console. "Captain, I'm intercepting new alien transmissions. The 3 faction fleets are moving into final position around human colonies. The coordinated attack will begin the moment the weapons on Meridian 7 are activated." Morrison felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Not just his crew, but all of humanity depended on what happened in the next few hours. The aliens had planned this perfectly. While Earth's leaders were being destroyed at Meridian 7, alien fleets would simultaneously attack every major human world. "Time until the ceremony?" Morrison asked. 2 hours and 30 minutes, Cross replied. Morrison made his decision. "We're going to attend the ceremony as planned, but we're going to modify our approach." He activated the ship's secure communication system and addressed his senior staff. "The aliens think they're going to eliminate humanity's leadership today, but they've made one crucial mistake." "What mistake?" Hughes asked. "They assume that eliminating our leaders will cripple our ability to fight back. But humans don't work that way. We're not like alien hierarchical societies where everything depends on the leaders." Dr. Norton began to understand Morrison's thinking. "You're talking about human adaptability." "Exactly," Morrison said. "Every human colony, every ship, every outpost has people who can take command if necessary. The aliens are planning to cut off the head, but humanity has thousands of heads." Foster looked puzzled. "But Captain, if the alien fleets attack our colony simultaneously, how can scattered local commanders coordinate a defense?" Morrison smiled for the first time in days. "Because Admiral Carter didn't just authorize Protocol 7. She implemented the preliminary stages before we left Earth." The bridge fell silent as Morrison's words sank in. Protocol 7 was not just an emergency plan. It was a complete restructuring of human space defenses designed to survive exactly the kind of decapitation attack the aliens were planning. "The colony commanders already have their orders," Morrison continued. "Every civilian ship has been equipped with hidden military upgrades. Every outpost has concealed weapons and shields. The aliens think they're attacking helpless targets, but they're actually walking into prepared defensive positions." Ben Clark accessed classified files on his intelligence console. "Captain, you're right. Earth Command has been implementing Protocol 7 gradually over the past 6 months. The aliens never detected it because the changes were so subtle." Morrison felt a surge of pride in human ingenuity. While the aliens had been planning their elaborate trap, humanity had been preparing an even more elaborate counter-trap. "What, about the weapons on this station?" Cross asked. "That's where we come in," Morrison replied. "Foster, I want you to access the station's power grid during the ceremony. When the aliens try to fire their weapons, I want you to overload the entire system." Foster's eyes lit up with understanding. "If I can create a feedback loop in the quantum disruption matrix, the weapons will destroy the station instead of firing at our colonies." "Exactly," Morrison said. "The aliens want to broadcast humanity's destruction to the galaxy. Instead, they're going to broadcast their own defeat." Dr. Norton was studying alien psychological profiles on his datapad. "Captain, there's something else we should consider. The aliens have never faced coordinated human resistance before. All their previous victories came from attacking isolated human settlements or single ships. Meaning? Hughes asked. Meaning, they have no experience fighting humans who are prepared and working together. Their tactical doctrine is based on quick strikes against surprised enemies. Morrison nodded. Human military doctrine emphasized adaptability, coordination, and mutual support. Alien tactics relied on overwhelming force and psychological intimidation. When the aliens discovered that their surprise attack had failed, they would be fighting an enemy they did not understand. 30 minutes until we transport to the station, Cross announced. Morrison looked around the bridge at his crew. Foster was making final adjustments to her sensor equipment. Hughes was checking her weapons one more time. Norton was reviewing alien cultural data. Clark was monitoring fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Remember, Morrison said, the aliens think they're about to win the war. Let them keep thinking that until it's too late. The transport coordinates came through from Meridian 7. Morrison, Cross, Hughes, and a small security detail would attend the ceremony while Foster and the rest of the crew remained aboard the Liberty. Foster, Morrison said before leaving, when those weapons start charging, you'll have maybe 30 seconds to create your feedback loop. I'll be ready, Captain, Foster replied with quiet confidence. Morrison took one last look at the stars through the main viewer. In a few hours, the galaxy would know whether humanity would survive or become extinct. But as he prepared to beam over to Meridian 7, Morrison felt calm and determined. The aliens had planned their trap perfectly, but they had never fought humans who were ready for them. As the transport beam activated, Morrison's last thought was that the aliens were about to learn a very painful lesson about human nature. When humanity was threatened with extinction, humans did not surrender. They fought back. The peace ceremony began exactly as the aliens had planned. Morrison and Ambassador Cross stood in the grand ceremonial hall of Meridian 7, surrounded by alien delegates from 3 powerful factions. The room was massive, with soaring ceilings and ornate decorations that reflected the light from a dozen different suns. Hegemon Vextar stood at the center of the room, towering over the human delegates. His gray skin was marked with ritual scars and his eyes glowed with predatory satisfaction. Beside him, Syndicate Prime Zalakun moved with fluid grace, her serpentine features arranged in what might have been a smile. Collective Speaker Mordain hovered nearby, his insectoid form clicking and humming with electronic implants. Morrison watched the aliens carefully while Ambassador Cross read from the peace treaty. Every alien in the room believed they were about to witness humanity's destruction. Their confidence was obvious in their posture and expressions. They thought they had already won. Back aboard the Liberty, Lieutenant Amy Foster monitored the YAO station's energy systems. The quantum disruption weapons were almost at full charge. Soon the aliens would activate them and attempt to destroy every human leader in the galaxy simultaneously. Captain, Foster's voice came through Morrison's hidden communicator. Weapons charging at 90%. I'm ready to implement the feedback loop on your signal. Morrison touched his collar once to acknowledge the message. Ambassador Cross continued reading the treaty terms, her voice steady and diplomatic. She gave no sign that she knew what was really about to happen. Dr. Norton had been right about the alien psychological profiles. As the ceremony progressed, Morrison could see the aliens becoming more excited. They were anticipating their moment of triumph. Vextar's claws extended slightly. Zalakun's scales rippled with pleasure. Mordain's electronic implants buzzed with increased activity. At precisely 1800 hours, Ambassador Cross finished reading the treaty. She looked up at the alien delegates with a diplomatic smile. On behalf of humanity, I am prepared to sign this historic agreement, Cross announced. That was the signal the aliens had been waiting for. Morrison felt rather than heard a deep vibration through the station's hull. The quantum disruption weapons were activating. In seconds, they would fire simultaneously at Earth, the Luna colonies, Mars, and every major human settlement. But the aliens had made one crucial error. They had assumed that the human delegates at Meridian 7 were actually humanity's real leaders. The moment the weapons activated, Admiral Lisa Carter's voice came through communication systems across human space. Her transmission originated, not from Earth but from a hidden command center deep in the asteroid belt. All human forces, this is Admiral Carter. Protocol 7 is now active, repeat. Protocol 7 is now active. Throughout the galaxy, human colonies that the aliens thought were helpless suddenly came alive with defensive systems. Mining stations revealed themselves to be armed fortresses. Civilian transports deployed military-grade weapons. Colony governors who seemed like bureaucrats showed themselves to be trained military commanders. On Meridian 7, Morrison smiled as the aliens realized their trap had become their doom. Foster triggered the feedback loop just as the quantum weapons reached full power. Instead of firing outward at human targets, the massive energy discharge reflected back into the station's power grid. The lights flickered and sparks flew from alien control consoles. Vexter roared in anger as he realized the weapons were destroying the station instead of Earth. Salakun hissed in frustration as her carefully laid plans collapsed. Mordane's electronic implants sparked and failed as electromagnetic pulses surged through the station. "Impossible," Vextar snarled at Morrison. "Your leaders are here. We should have destroyed your command structure." Morrison's smile widened. "Our leaders were never here. What you're looking at are holographic projections." The alien delegates stared in shock as Ambassador Cross flickered and revealed herself to be a sophisticated hologram. The other human diplomats in the room were also projections, controlled remotely from secure locations. Morrison himself was real, but he was not a political leader. He was a military officer whose job was to spring humanity's countertrap at exactly the right moment. "You see," Morrison explained as the station shook from internal explosions. "Humans learned a long time ago not to put all their important people in one place, especially when dealing with aliens who might want to kill them." Chief Analyst Ben Clark's voice came through Morrison's communicator from the Liberty. "Captain, alien fleets are engaging human forces throughout the galaxy. Initial reports show the aliens are taking heavy casualties." Morrison was not surprised. The alien fleets had expected to attack surprised and defenseless colonies. Instead, they found themselves fighting prepared defensive positions with overlapping fields of fire and coordinated tactical responses. Commander Ryan Phillips had spent months positioning human agents throughout alien space. As the alien fleets moved to attack human colonies, these agents sabotaged alien supply lines, communication networks, and command centers. Dr. Norton's research into alien psychology proved crucial. Human forces used targeted biological weapons that affected only alien nervous systems. The aliens' belief in their genetic superiority became a weakness when human scientists turned their own biology against them. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Hughes led her Marines in a fighting withdrawal from Meridian 7 as the station continued to tear itself apart. The quantum feedback loop was creating a cascade failure that would destroy the entire structure. "All human personnel, evacuate immediately," Morrison ordered. "This station is going to explode in approximately 10 minutes. The alien delegates were trapped." Their escape ships had been disabled by the electromagnetic pulses, and the station's transport systems were failing. Vextar drew his weapon and aimed it at Morrison. "You will die with us, human," the hegemon growled. Morrison ducked behind a support column as energy bolts flew past his head. Hughes and her Marines returned fire with precision weapons designed specifically for close combat with aliens. The ceremonial hall became a battlefield as the station shook itself apart. "Foster, emergency transport now," Morrison called into his communicator. The transport beam activated just as a massive explosion rocked the station. Morrison materialized on the Liberty's transporter pad along with Hughes and her surviving Marines. Through the ship's viewscreen, they watched Meridian 7 tear itself apart in a spectacular display of uncontrolled quantum energy. "Status report," Morrison ordered as he reached the bridge. "All human forces are checking in," Foster reported. "The alien fleets are in full retreat. Admiral Carter estimates enemy casualties at 70% and rising." Morrison felt a surge of satisfaction. The aliens had planned their trap for 2 years, but humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario since first contact with hostile species. "Captain," Dr. Norton called from his station. "I'm intercepting alien communications. They're calling for a ceasefire. The Hegemon, Syndicate, and collective military commands are all requesting immediate negotiations. Morrison was not surprised. Alien military doctrine was based on quick victories and overwhelming force. When those tactics failed, most alien species had no backup plan. They had never developed the human capacity for prolonged resistance and adaptive strategy. "Open a channel to all alien forces," Morrison ordered. The main viewer activated to show Morrison's image being broadcast to alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Behind him, the wreckage of Meridian 7 continued to burn in space. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet," he announced. "The war is over. Any alien force that continues to attack human targets will be destroyed. Any alien force that withdraws from human space will be allowed to leave unharmed. You cannot defeat us all," came a reply from the Hegemon fleet commander. "We have thousands of ships." Morrison's expression remained calm and confident. "We just destroyed your best weapons and killed your top military leaders. Your fleets are scattered and demoralized. Your supply lines are cut and your communications are compromised." He paused to let those facts sink in before continuing. "You can surrender now with honor, or you can be systematically destroyed over the next few months. The choice is yours." The alien communications channels fell silent. Morrison could imagine the desperate discussions taking place aboard alien command ships. Their perfect trap had become their worst defeat. 3 major alien factions had just learned that humanity was much more dangerous than they had ever imagined. "Captain," Admiral Carter's voice came through the communication system. "Outstanding work. Report to Earth Command for debriefing when you're ready." Morrison smiled as he looked out at the stars. The war was not completely over yet, but the tide had turned permanently in humanity's favor. The aliens had tried to eliminate humanity with treachery and overwhelming force. Instead, they had discovered that humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy when properly motivated. 3 months after the destruction of Meridian 7, Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest space station. The facility was called New Meridian, and it served as the headquarters for what humans now called the Galactic Protection Force. Through the massive windows, Morrison could see ships from a dozen different species arriving for the real peace negotiations. Admiral Lisa Carter joined Morrison at the observation windows. She now commanded all human forces in known space, and her reputation had spread throughout the galaxy. Alien species that had never heard of humans before. Meridian 7 now spoke Carter's name with respect and caution. "The Zephyrians just arrived," Carter noted, pointing to a graceful ship with flowing curves. "That makes 8 species requesting human protection from the 3 major factions." Morrison nodded. The Zephyrians were a peaceful species that had been oppressed by the Syndicate for decades. Like many smaller civilizations, they had seen what happened to the hegemony, Syndicate, and collective forces, and decided that humans might be more reasonable protectors. Dr. Sam Norton approached with his latest intelligence reports. His nervous energy had been replaced by quiet confidence since the victory at Meridian 7. Norton had become the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies psychology, and his insights were crucial to humanity's new role. "The final casualty reports are in," Norton announced. "The hegemony lost 68% of their fleet. The Syndicate lost 74%. The collective lost 81%. "What about their homeworlds?" Morrison asked. "All 3 factions have agreed to our terms. No military vessels within 50 light-years of human space. No raids on smaller species under human protection. Full reparations for damages caused during the war." Carter smiled with satisfaction. The aliens had started the war believing they could quickly eliminate humanity. Instead, they had lost most of their military capability and found themselves subject to human oversight. Lieutenant Amy Foster had been promoted to commander, and now served as Chief of Technology for the Galactic Protection Force. Her work at Meridian 7 had earned her recognition throughout human space. Foster approached with her latest sensor readings. "Admiral, Captain," Foster reported. "Long-range sensors show the remaining alien fleets are withdrawing to their home systems as agreed. No signs of military buildup or treaty violations." Morrison was impressed by how completely the aliens had accepted defeat. Their military leaders had been convinced that humans possessed some kind of superior technology or tactical genius. The truth was simpler. Humans had just been more thorough in their preparation. Ambassador Helen Cross arrived with the latest diplomatic reports. She had been promoted to Secretary of Galactic Affairs and now managed relations with over 30 different species. Cross had proven that humans could be both warriors and diplomats when the situation required it. The Tau Centauri Assembly has voted to join the Protection Alliance, Cross announced. That brings our total membership to 23 species. What about the former slave worlds? Carter asked. 17 planets liberated from syndicate control have requested human assistance in establishing democratic governments. The transition is going smoothly. Morrison felt proud of what humanity had accomplished. The war could have ended with simple military victory, but humans had chosen to build something better. Instead of replacing the alien oppressors, humanity was helping smaller species develop their own strength and independence. Chief Analyst Ben Clark joined the group with his intelligence summary. Clark had been promoted to Director of Galactic Intelligence and now coordinated information gathering across hundreds of star systems. The three major factions are still in communication with each other, Clark reported. But their discussions focus on internal recovery, not military cooperation. They're no longer a coordinated threat. Any signs of revenge planning? Morrison asked. None detected. Our psychological analysis suggests they're genuinely convinced that humans are too dangerous to attack. The destruction of Meridian 7 has become a cautionary tale throughout their territories. Morrison understood the psychological impact. Alien military doctrine had never encountered an enemy that could turn their own weapons against them so effectively. The quantum feedback loop that destroyed Meridian 7 had become legendary among alien species. Dr. Norton accessed his cultural analysis files. Captain, the aliens are calling the Meridian 7 incident the day the prey became the hunter. It's becoming part of their historical records as a warning about underestimating other species. Carter looked pleased. Good. Fear will keep them from trying again. Morrison was not entirely comfortable with being feared throughout the galaxy, but he understood its necessity. Humanity had tried diplomacy and peaceful coexistence for years before the aliens forced them into war. Now that the war was over, fear would maintain the peace more effectively than treaties. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Hughes had been promoted to general and now commanded all human ground forces. She arrived with reports from the former alien colonies that were transitioning to independence. The liberation operations are complete, Hughes announced. Former collective drone worlds are learning individual decision-making. Former hegemony tribute worlds are establishing their own defense forces. Former syndicate economic colonies are developing independent trade relationships. Any problems with the transitions? Cross asked. Some cultural adjustment difficulties, but nothing serious. Most species are grateful for the chance to control their own destinies. Morrison walked back to the observation windows and looked out at the ships gathering for the peace conference. This time, the negotiations would be different. Instead of alien predators meeting with human prey, it would be equals discussing mutual cooperation. Admiral, Morrison said to Carter, do you think this peace will last? Carter considered the question carefully. The aliens learned that humans are too dangerous to attack directly. But more importantly, they learned that humans offer something they never expected, genuine cooperation instead of domination. Morrison nodded. The three major alien factions had ruled through fear and oppression for centuries. They had never encountered a species that became stronger when attacked, or that chose to protect weaker species instead of exploiting them. Commander Phillips approached with the final fleet status report. Phillips had been promoted to admiral and now coordinated human naval operations throughout the galaxy. All human fleets are at peacetime deployment, Phillips reported, but we're maintaining rapid response capability in case any faction decides to test our resolve. How long to mobilize if needed? Carter asked. Full fleet deployment within 72 hours to any location within our protection zone. Morrison was satisfied with the military preparations. Humanity had learned from the alien attempt at a surprise attack. Human forces were now positioned to respond quickly to any threat against themselves or their allies. The communication system activated with a priority message from Earth. President Sarah Williams appeared on the screen. Williams had been elected, after the war ended, running on a platform of galactic engagement and species cooperation. Admiral Carter, Captain Morrison, President Williams said, "Congratulations on the successful establishment of the Galactic Protection Force. Earth is proud of what you've accomplished." "Thank you, Madam President," Carter replied. "I want you to know that the people of Earth support your mission completely. We've learned that isolation is not an option in a galaxy full of predatory species." Morrison appreciated the political support. The war had taught humanity that they could not ignore the rest of the galaxy and hope to be left alone. Active engagement and demonstrated strength were the only ways to ensure long-term survival. As the communication ended, Morrison looked around at his colleagues. Foster was already working on defensive technologies for smaller species. Hughes was training local forces on liberated worlds. Norton was studying the cultures of potential new allies. Clark was monitoring threats throughout known space. A year ago, these people had been fighting for humanity's survival. Now they were building a better future for dozens of species throughout the galaxy. "Admiral," Morrison said to Carter, "what's our next mission?" Carter smiled. "We've received requests for protection from 3 more species in the Outer Rim. The Kylorians are being threatened by hegemony remnants. The Alterans are facing syndicate raiders. The Novans are dealing with collective infiltrators." Morrison felt the familiar surge of determination. The war against the 3 major factions was over, but the mission to protect smaller species was just beginning. "When do we leave?" Morrison asked. "Tomorrow," Carter replied. "The Liberty has been upgraded with the latest defensive systems. You'll be commanding a task force of 12 ships." Morrison looked out at the stars one more time. The galaxy was a dangerous place filled with predatory species and ancient conflicts. But humanity had proven that intelligence, preparation, and cooperation could triumph over aggression and oppression. The peace deal had indeed been a setup, but it was humanity that had written the final script. As New Meridian continued its orbit around Earth, Morrison prepared for the next chapter in humanity's galactic story. The aliens had tried to make humans extinct. Instead, they had made humanity the galaxy's protector. The Liberty arrived at Meridian 7 exactly on schedule. Morrison stood on the bridge and studied the massive space station through the main viewer. Meridian 7 was supposed to be neutral territory, built by an ancient race that had disappeared long ago. The station was huge, with gleaming metal surfaces and complex geometric patterns. It could house thousands of beings from different species. Ambassador Helen Cross joined Morrison on the bridge. She was Earth's chief diplomat, a woman, with silver hair and calm eyes. Cross had negotiated with aliens before, but never in a situation this important. She wore the formal blue uniform of the diplomatic corps with its gold trim and Earth insignia. "Impressive station," Cross said, looking at the display. "Too impressive," Morrison replied. "Perfect place for an ambush." Cross nodded. She was not naive about alien intentions. During her career, she had seen aliens lie, cheat, and break agreements whenever it suited them. But she also knew that sometimes diplomacy was the only way to avoid total war. Lieutenant Amy Foster worked at her sensor station nearby. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls as she scanned the station and surrounding space. Foster was 28 years old with short brown hair and intense concentration. She could make the ship's sensors detect things that other operators would miss. "Captain," Foster called out, "I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the station." Morrison walked over to her station. "What kind of signatures?" "High-energy quantum fluctuations. The pattern is similar to disruption weapons, but much larger scale. It's almost like the entire station is some kind of weapon." Morrison felt his pulse quicken. Quantum disruption weapons could destroy entire fleets in seconds. If the aliens had turned Meridian 7 into a giant version of such a weapon, they could eliminate Earth's entire leadership with one strike. "Are you certain?" Morrison asked. "The readings are definitely there," Foster confirmed. "But they're being masked by the station's normal power systems. Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide them." Dr. Norton appeared at Morrison's shoulder. He had been listening to alien communications since they arrived. Norton's face was pale and worried. "Captain, I've been monitoring alien diplomatic frequencies. The 3 faction leaders are already aboard the station, but something is wrong with their biosignatures." "What do you mean?" Morrison asked. "Hegemon Vextar, Syndicate Prime Zalakun, and Collective Speaker Mordain are supposed to be the diplomatic leaders of their factions, but the bio readings I'm getting suggest these are actually military commanders." Morrison exchanged glances with Ambassador Cross. If the aliens had sent military leaders disguised as diplomats, it meant they were not interested in real peace negotiations. "Can you be sure?" Cross asked. "Alien biology is my specialty," Norton said. "Different castes in alien society have different physiological markers. Warriors have enhanced muscle density and modified brain chemistry. Diplomats have different stress responses and communication adaptations. These aliens aboard the station are definitely warriors, not diplomats." Chief Analyst Ben Clark's voice came over the communication system from the ship's intelligence center. Clark was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. His job was to monitor alien fleet movements and communication patterns. "Captain, I'm detecting coordinated movements among alien fleets throughout human space. Ships that should be withdrawing are instead taking strategic positions around our major colonies." Morrison activated the ship's secure communication system. "What kind of positions, Chief?" "Siege formations, sir. They're positioning themselves to cut off supply routes and communications to Earth's most important worlds. If this is preparation for peace, I'm a Martian sandworm." Lieutenant Colonel Kate Hughes joined the group on the bridge. Hughes commanded the Marine security detail that would accompany the diplomatic party to the station. She was a combat veteran with scars on her hands and a no-nonsense attitude. Hughes had fought aliens in ground combat and knew how dangerous they could be. "Captain," Hughes said, "my advanced team has reviewed the station's security protocols. The aliens are requesting detailed scans of our equipment and personnel. They claim it's standard diplomatic procedure." "But," Morrison prompted, "but the level of scanning they want would give them complete intelligence on our defensive capabilities, weapons technology, and tactical procedures. It's like they're preparing for war, not peace." Ambassador Cross looked troubled. "If we refuse the scans, they'll claim we're not serious about peace. If we allow them, we're giving away military secrets." Morrison considered their options. Every piece of evidence pointed to the same conclusion. The peace conference was a trap, but Earth Command had ordered them to attend. If humanity walked away from peace talks, the aliens could claim that humans were the aggressors. "We'll go through with the diplomatic mission," Morrison decided. "But we'll be ready for anything." Foster looked up from her sensor station. "Captain, I'm detecting more alien ships approaching. They're not showing up on normal sensors, but the quantum distortions are giving them away." "How many ships?" Morrison asked. "At least 30, possibly more. They're using some kind of stealth technology." Morrison felt the trap closing around them. Invisible alien ships, weapons built into the space station, fake diplomats who were actually military commanders. The aliens had planned this very carefully. Dr. Norton was studying his datapad with growing alarm. "Captain, I found something else in the alien communications. They've been planning this operation for over 2 years. They call it Final Solution in their military codes." The name sent chills through everyone on the bridge. Morrison had heard that phrase before in intelligence briefings. It was what the aliens called their plan to completely eliminate humanity from the galaxy. "How long do we have?" Morrison asked. "The communication suggests the trap will be sprung during the formal signing ceremony," Norton said. "That's scheduled for 1800 hours tomorrow." Morrison looked at the chronometer. They had less than 30 hours to figure out how to survive what was clearly an elaborate assassination plot. The aliens planned to eliminate Earth's leadership and then launch coordinated attacks on human colonies throughout the galaxy. Ambassador Cross straightened her shoulders. "Captain, I still need to go through with the diplomatic mission. If there's any chance for real peace, I have to try." Morrison admired her courage, but he was not going to let her walk into certain death. "With respect, Ambassador, we need to warn Earth Command about what we've discovered. Foster shook her head. I've been trying to establish communication with Earth, but something is interfering with our quantum transmitters. The aliens are jamming our long-range communications. Morrison realized they were completely cut off. No way to warn Earth, no way to call for help. The aliens had thought of everything. Lieutenant Colonel Hughes checked her sidearm and looked at Morrison. Orders, Captain. Morrison thought about Protocol 7. Admiral Carter had authorized it if things went bad. Things had definitely gone bad. But Protocol 7 was designed for situations where Earth Command could coordinate the response. Here at Meridian 7, Morrison and his crew were on their own. We're going to attend the peace conference as planned, Morrison announced, but we're going to be ready for their trap. Dr. Norton looked puzzled. Captain, if we know it's a trap, why are we walking into it? Morrison smiled grimly. Because sometimes the best way to spring a trap is to make the enemy think their trap worked. Ambassador Cross nodded slowly. She was beginning to understand Morrison's thinking. You want to turn their trap against them? Exactly, Morrison said. The aliens think they're going to eliminate humanity's leadership tomorrow. Instead, we're going to show them that humanity is much harder to kill than they think. Foster continued monitoring her sensors as alien ships moved into position around the station. Hughes prepared her Marines for what might be the most important battle in human history. Norton analyzed alien communications for any weakness they could exploit. Morrison looked out at the stars one more time. Tomorrow would decide whether humanity survived or became extinct. But as he watched his crew prepare for the coming battle, Morrison felt a cold determination settle in his chest. The aliens thought they were the hunters. Tomorrow they would learn that humans could be very dangerous prey.